Welcome back, viewer. This is Chungu Chajami. Today we are talking about demonstration. What is your take on demonstration? Are you for it or against it? Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. So before we went on a break, Mr. Kabila, you're taking us through your point where we had asked before of the political leaders not involving their children and some deciding if they're in political realm, they are out supporting. But if they are not, they are so much under the radar. And as we mostly hear, most say that their children, they are not even within the country. But yet again, these same politicians are just calling us out loud to come and protest. And like she had mentioned, we don't have civil educations where we get to educate our society and letting them to understand better. Maybe take us through the same.
Yes, thank you. First, I would also support her point, whereby she gave a good point. Where it's true, we need civil education in this country. We really need that civil education. But back on the question, at this point, Kenya is going through a lot. It's going through a difficult situation. Because look at the cost of living right now. It's so high. Look at the prices of basic commodities, sugar, flour. Look at the prices of cooking oil, so high. So this is what is driving Kenya's, this is what is going on in Kenya's mind right now. And from your question, you're asking why we don't see politicians' children on the streets. I can say that on one of the first Azimio's demonstrations, we saw her daughter. He was also on the demonstrations, but after there, we did not see her or some of their children later. But my point is, Kenyans are the ones suffering the most. Yeah, these political elites, they are in a good. They have the money, they have the resources, they have their jobs intact. So it's obvious we're not going to see them or mostly on the streets. Yeah, we can see like maybe an example from the Azimio's side. Raila's daughter, she's an MP at Yala, right? She has her job she's keeping her job right now. So she's not feeling that pressure as the same magnitude with the common mwananchi, right? So a common mwananchi is left frustrated, whereby to that point that and this mwananchi has his or her own political affiliation. So if my political leader calls for a demonstration and he, according to him, is going to fight for my rights, is going to fight for me to lower the cost of living, why don't I go, right? That's what mwananchi is thinking, because look at the first one. The first one was about mostly was about the 4 recommendations that the opposition was giving to the government, and that's why we saw very many political leaders coming out. But right now we've seen on Wednesday, Raila did not come out. The opposition team did not come out except for Edwin Sifuna, right? And most of them are only mwananchi is coming out. What does it say? It's not about the political leaders. It's about the common mwananchi. Yeah, it's that mwananchi down there, that Wanjiku down there. They're protesting about the cost of living. They're protesting about the prices of food items, right? That's why you will see most of them out there compared to how much you see these political leaders and their children.
But I have a question.
Yes.
If you see this common mwananchi, this Wanjiku down there coming out to protest.
Yes.
And they're protesting simply because the basic commodities are at an exaggerated price. My question is, at the end of the day, the prices are still the same.
Yes.
The time that you've wasted, to me, I'll say, you could have used that time making the extra shilling to be able to afford whatever it is that you're not able to afford. But going out there, you're not going to be paid for that. You're not going to be compensated all your time. Because if I look at it, politicians and these elite people, whenever they go, their job are intact. If they go for a sitting, they're paid for it. From where I'm seated, that is what I understand. But for me, if I go out, I'm not going to be paid.
Yes.
That time I could have utilized it working on my business or concentrating better on what I do best. But now here I am coming out. In as much as we're saying the economy is tough, which is true, but is there no way of coming out or counter-attacking this way of life of things being expensive and looking on how we are going to work on it instead of just looking at the government and pointing and going out demonstrating and saying all whatever we are saying? What do you have to say?
Well, I do get your point. I wouldn't necessarily say that demonstrations are a waste of time thoroughly, because that's a provision in the Constitution, and that's the last resort. When all other means have been exploited,
Maybe
we've asked the members
Maybe to add on that,
yeah.
I'm not against demonstration,
yeah.
but I'm against this of looting, the
Yes,
violence,
exactly.
and the riots.
That's why we're going, because now you also understand we have opportunists.
Okay.
Just the same way the politicians are opportunists right now. Or let's use the people to propagate our agenda. And remember, it's people who actually put these people in power, because that's what Article 1 of the Constitution says, that power belongs to the people and they delegate it democratically. So when these delegated leaders do not fulfill the wishes of the people, that's when people resort to demonstration. So this is the last resort. It should be the very last. But you have opportunists. They see demonstrations and like, yeah, this is our time, kukula. And Kenyans are really loyal to their pocket, yeah? So if I'm not going to be paid to go and demonstrate, then I won't go. So what does it say about the spirit of nationalism and patriotism of the country? If I can only go and raise an issue just because it benefits me, then it's beating the point of having a national symbol. That's why you're connected by the flag, we're connected by our national anthem. And when we put these things away saying, okay, now it's survival for the fittest, people will do the most atrocious things. That's why there's a need, in as much as we are also advocating as a media, because lately we've seen police even, they're posing as journalists to arrest protesters. So we are also looking at, there's a myriad of issues. We're looking at the independence of the police, independence of the media, and the defense of this constitution, because at the end of the day, it's supreme. I understand going to come up with better solutions, policy solutions. That's why I'm also interested in how the government is saying, let's focus on manufacturing, let's produce. But what are the measures? Do those manufacturing measures benefit the local person? If I'm going to get my ingredients, I'm a grocery shop and I'm going to Githurai and tax prices have gone high. So how can the government also ensure that the person at the bottom up, how can Wanjiku also be helped to enable manufacturing and production? So that is why Kenyans are on the streets. That's why Kenyans are on the streets. So making this a conducive environment for business, for manufacturing to happen. Looting, that's rioting. If you're caught, you should be in prison, because now you are destroying infrastructure that you are going to use the next day and was built on taxpayers' money. And that's a lot of money to lose.
Maybe as you add on the same,
Yes.
maybe to bring us back a little. We had talked about civil education.
Yes.
When we are going to do voting, we are always taught. We have advertisements, we have people all on the ground teaching us on how to cast our votes. Being told this color A it's for president, color B is for governor, so forth and so on. Why are we not having the same when it comes to matter to do with demonstration? Come on the ground, tell me. We want us to go out to demonstrate. We want peaceful demonstration. We should march from point A to point Z. This is how we are going to do it. Let it be uniform. And if it is uniform, can you also have some bit of uniform, let's say t-shirt, branded something showing we are together with this. So that whoever is not branded is an opportunist. So if you're caught by the arms of law, then you have to define why are you part of this, and yet you had not signed up for the same. So that also the government and the police can be able to protect, because by the end of the day, it's maybe from the opportunities that we get the brutality of the police, now able to differentiate between someone who is here peacefully and someone who is not here peacefully. So for us all to be protected, also you as the media person, what measures do you think that these political people are supposed to take in terms of educating the society at large, so that by the end of the day, we have to secure the lives and secure the peace of the society?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. When it comes to civil education, we need to understand that it's not a political leader's responsibility.
Yes.
It's the government's responsibility. So the government is supposed to take that initiative of educating its citizen on the proper ways of governance. Because first thing, just like my colleague has said, protests or demonstrations are the last resort, right? And being the last resort, does it mean that the other options were not explored? No, it doesn't mean that way. Because if we go back a little bit before, we heard that there's a MIO and the government and the Kenya Kwanza government. They are supposed to have bipartisan talks,
Yes.
but they never materialized, right? That was one of the options.
Yes.
If we had the bipartisan talks, we would not be talking
Here
about
today.
these things right now. Yeah, and it's at that point that the government would have taken that initiative to say, to tell Kenyans what they're supposed to do, or what measures are they taking to solve the problems so that they can balance the equilibrium,
Yes.
right? But the government did not take any precautions, right? Because after that, the problems were still there. Kenyans were still the same. The political class was still the same. And nothing happened. Because let me ask you this question. When you're having an issue and then you're frustrated, what do? You become angry. You become angry at
Restless.
everything.
Yes.
Yeah? You become angry at maybe your colleague sometimes, at yourself, at things, at situations. It's the same thing that is happening to Kenyans. Kenyans, they're decrying of the high cost of living, yeah? And they're seeing no one is there to fight for them. They dependent on the opposition. And the opposition you have seen...
Going to bed.
Yeah, they've gone to bed. Yeah, so the wananchi, they are left to fight for themselves. That's why you're seeing this confusion right here, because not everyone is informed. Some don't know the meaning of protest.
Yeah.
And from the history, you have seen that during protest in Kenya, we experience some lootings, we have hooliganism,
Deaths.
and deaths. And just as she said, we have opportunists, and they take advantage of the situation. And having the high cost of living, a Kenyan cannot see there's an opportunity of looting this shop. I don't have flour, and they have bundles of flour here. He or she cannot leave that, you see? So it's also government's responsibility to make sure that these citizens are sensitized on the best practices of when it comes to situations like this. And another thing, it's also good for these political leaders to educate their supporters on better ways of approaching such circumstances. Because we can also fault either sides.
Yeah.
Because we have seen that, let's take the example of the opposition. So far in their social media, they are calling out the injustices being carried out. Maybe the gunshots, citizens are wounded, citizens are suffering, but I've not seen a place where they're shunning that incident where shops are being robbed. Yeah, I think it's also good for them to take that initiative to tell their supporters it's not good to engage in these illegal activities. Yeah.
Just to chime in again, mine when I try as much as possible as a political reporter to balance the scales, but the person I'm most concerned about is the Kenyan citizen. And I think there's this quote that says, if you want to oppress the black man, hide the information in a book.
Yeah.
The Constitution is clear on the rights and benefits. The Bill of Rights is clear about what a Kenyan can, the freedoms that they have. So when we're waiting for a political class who have their own agenda, who have their own legacies that they want to leave, because everyone is looking to leave a legacy. So they want, I was never the president, but I was loved by people. I was able to bring the government to its knees. This other one, I want to upgrade Mama Mboga, you know.
So
But
by the
now we're
end of
not
the
seeing
day,
it.
we're talking now about
So
egoism.
at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
yeah,
we're talking about egoism, but at the end of the day, also talking. I'm also looking at the Kenyan citizen. Why have Kenyans left the democratic space for politicians as only? Kenyans should be active participants in politics, and that is what is happening when you're saying, if I'm not paid, then I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
If I'm not paid, I will not educate someone on the law. I want to tell people, you must know the Constitution. You must read that book. You at least read it once. It's been how many years? 13 years since it's been promulgated.
Yeah.
Some people do not know what the Bill of Rights. You can ask someone what chapter is the Bill of Rights. They do not know. So
On
how
that
will this
note,
part? Yeah.
let us take a quick commercial break. Viewer, I hope you're learning as much as I do. I hope you can continue sending in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. We'll be back shortly.